A very good morning to you, dear listener, and welcome to Perspectives, a current affairs discussion program on iGate Radio 95.5 Star FM, Makurdi, Benue State. This morning on Perspectives, our focus is on World Diabetes Day. Yesterday, November 14, was observed as World Diabetes Day, a day set aside by the United Nations World Health Organization to give a spotlight on issues concerning diabetes being a disease of public health importance. And according to World Health Organization, millions of people, over 10 million persons around the world, are estimated to be living with the condition as at this year. And of course, the issues concerning the care for persons living with diabetes have continued to be on the front burner, given the rising cost of living of insulin, medications, and other oral medications are used to treat the disease. This is why on this edition of Perspectives, we shall try to spotlight what diabetes is, what are its risk factors, ways of preventing it, and how the government can also assist persons living with the condition to live normally, of course, to assuage the hardship they are facing, having to cope with the condition. I've been joined here in the studio by three panelists who will lead the conversation. First, Dr. Akor Onogwu is a consultant endocrinologist at the Benue State University Teaching Hospital, Makurdi. He has joined us here on Perspectives. Welcome to our studio, Dr. Onogwu.
Thank you so much, and good morning, listener.
Also with us as a panelist on the program is a consultant dermatologist at the Federal Medical Center, Makurdi, Dr. Utane Adaman. Welcome to Perspectives, Dr. Atama.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Good morning, all.
Nathaniel Ayila is the Benue State Chairman, Diabetes Association of Nigeria. Welcome to the program, Mr. Nathaniel Ayila.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, listeners.
I am Nathaniel Nongu, welcoming you to this Friday edition of Perspectives. And if this is your first time tuning into the program, kindly be informed that Perspectives is audience participatory. It takes the airwaves between 9 and 11 a.m., Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And at 10 o'clock, we allow you the opportunity to phone in to contribute to what we are discussing. You can do so by reaching us on 0814-335-9292. 0814-335-9292. The SMS line is 0912-699-9404. 0912-699-9404. Log on to our website on www.agateradio.tv.com to listen to us and access other content of Agate Radio as well. You may as well download the Agate Radio and TV app from Google Play Store, which avails you the platforms of our television online, newspaper, as well as radio. You can follow us on our social media pages where we have our content, and of course, our programs are also streaming there. Let's begin, and I'd like to begin with you, Dr. Onogwu. Let's start with the basics. What is diabetes in a way that someone will understand the condition we're talking about?
All right, thank you so much. When we talk about diabetes, generally, it has to do with the food we eat. And usually when we eat food, there's a chemical in the body called insulin. The body make use of the insulin to break down the food that we eat into the smallest particle that the body can make use of it. But for several reasons, sometimes the insulin will be lacking. And at other times, it is not lacking, but it is not working well the way it's supposed to work, which we call the insulin resistance. So when either of these happen, or both, the body will not make use of it very well. And if the body is not obviously called sugar. So essentially, diabetes is when there is excess sugar in the body for a very long time. And this is because the body is not producing insulin the way it's supposed to produce, or the body is not recognizing it the way it's supposed to recognize it. That is how we can explain diabetes in a layman language.
Okay, and this excess sugar is generated from consumption of food, or is it from the sugar content, the normal sugar that we know that you consume, and there's excess of it?
Yes, that is why I say initially I say the glucose, but then we can loosely say the sugar, because there are several types of sugar in the body, and glucose is the one where our emphasis is on now. But then we should know that whatever type of food that we eat, the body will eventually convert it back to insulin, be it protein, be it fatty food. So even if you avoid the carbohydrate and you are eating only the meat, your body will still convert it back to glucose, because there are certain parts of the cells of the body that makes use of only the insulin of only the glucose. So glucose is the energy that the body uses. Although in certain extreme conditions there are other form of fuel that the body uses, but the major one is glucose. So whatever food we eat, the body have a way of converting it to glucose. That is the sugar. So whether you are eating carbohydrates, too much of protein, too much of fatty food, you can have diabetes. The sugar can be too high in your body, causing diabetes for you.
Okay, Dr. Adama, let me have your thoughts of what the condition of diabetes is all about.
Okay, thank you very much. So, like the Dr. Onogwu just mentioned, is a disorder of the results we see in the body. Okay, so these can manifest in so many ways. Excess sugar in the body can affect the blood vessels. Both we call the bigger blood vessels and then the smaller blood vessels. And these blood vessels, they are responsible for they are found in all the organs in the body. So they can affect your eyesight, they can affect your heart, they can affect your kidneys, they can affect your muscles everywhere. So when we have this chronic sugar in the body, you can develop sores that are slow to heal. So your wounds, you just notice that you have a sore, a wound, or an ulcer that is not healing fast, okay, because of the chronic hyperglycemia, that is excess sugar in the body, okay. You notice that you're feeling very thirsty, there's excess all the time. You want to drink water. Every time you want to drink, you want to eat, you're always hungry, you always want to eat, you're always thirsty, you're always urinating, excessive urination, and on all of that, you're losing weight, unexplained weight loss. So these are some of the symptoms that we see early on in diabetes. This does not mean that sometimes people can even have chronic excess sugar in the blood and they don't have these symptoms yet. So it doesn't mean that because you're not seeing these things, you shouldn't check. So we need to also check. We need to also check because these symptoms, as I mentioned, may not always be there. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Mr. Ayila, you are the chairman of the Benue State Diabetes Association. Is there something you would like to add briefly to what your co-panelists, the doctors, have stated about the condition of diabetes?
Yes, most definitely. First, because not just being chairman of the Diabetes Association of Nigeria Benue State chapter, I am living with the condition.
Okay.
And like the saying goes, that experience is the greatest teacher. I'm actually experiencing it. But they are just people managing people that are experiencing it. So they say, it's true, the excess glucose in the body. The glucose is the right state where the food taken in by individuals should be broken down so that it will be useful in the body. But when it becomes excess, it becomes a disease condition called diabetes. And like they said, you may not experience the symptoms they are mentioning, but you may have it. Just like myself. When I was diagnosed with the condition, I never experienced any of the symptoms. I was living a very normal life. I never thought I'm sick. So I was even shocked to discover taking the drugs before I started experiencing most of the symptoms that they were supposed to experience.
Okay, Dr. Onogwu, what are the different types of diabetes and how does it affect the body system?
All right, thank you. There are different types. You can have about 6 different classes, but I don't think that is solely important for my audience this morning. Suffice to say that the major type that the audience should know include type 1, type 2, the one that happen in pregnant women, we call it gestational diabetes, and then diabetes that arises from other disease condition. So, like I said, the gestational diabetes, that one happen only in pregnancy. So it's pregnant women that have that. And then after delivery, the sugar goes back to normal. But then it is a risk factor for developing type 2 later in life. Then the one that we say other specific type, that one you can have other sickness in your body, and then you end up having diabetes. For example, there are some endocrine conditions like Cushing syndrome, things like acromegaly. So many of them that they can cause it. Again, that is not truly important for this our discussion. Then the type 1 is the one that we say is autoimmune in origin. What that means that the body is fighting against itself. And that it can happen early in life. Some people as early as 6 years, 7 years can happen. Some people around 13 years can happen. But then it can even happen in the older people also. Then the majority of people that have diabetes, about 80 to 85%. That is to say, if you see the 10 people with diabetes, about 7 to 8 of them, they are having type 2. That's the majority of people. They have type 2 diabetes. And this happens most of the time in elderly people. And the real problem there is that in the early stage, the body have insulin. It's not lacking insulin, but there is what we call insulin resistance. As there is insulin, but the body is not recognizing it the way it's supposed to, or it is not working the way it's supposed to work. So in the early stage, it may even, because the body is not working the way it's supposed to work, the body can even over-secrete the insulin in order to overcome that resistance. And in the process, the power or the reserve of the pancreas will start reducing, and eventually the person will be started lacking the insulin. And then this type 2 that majority of people have runs in family. So ideally we say it is multifactorial, in the sense that there are several factors responsible for it. There is genetic component, and that is why if a father or a mother or any sibling has, then an individual have an increased risk of having type 2 diabetes. Again, environmental factors play a vital role in the pathogenesis of type 2 diabetes. The environment we live, what we do, the type of food we eat, our lifestyle choices. People that sit in one place, we say they have a sedentary lifestyle. People that eat unhealthy food items. People that don't exercise at all. People that are too fat. All these are risk factor for having type 2 diabetes.
Okay, Dr. Adama.
Yes.
Earlier on, you mentioned briefly some of the symptoms, but I would like you to dwell more on the symptoms that could early manifest in a condition of diabetes and how it can be diagnosed.
Okay, so back again to the symptoms. Like I said, first, the patient, it's good to know that the patient may be without symptoms, okay? Secondly, early symptoms can be, again, what we call polyuria, that's increased urination. Polydipsia, that is increased thirst, okay? Then polyphagia, that is increased eating. Just find out you want to just keep eating and eating. Your satiety, you're not satisfied. You just want to keep eating and eating. And upon all of this, you're still losing weight, okay? You're still losing weight. So those are the early signs and symptoms, okay? Now, what are the late signs and symptoms? That is when diabetes has been on for some time. When you now begin to have the complications of diabetes, it can affect your major organs. It can cause poor vision loss. Your vision is blurred, or even blindness. Eventually it can make you blind. It can affect your kidneys. It can make you to have, it can affect your kidneys. It can, in fact, okay, at this point, I want to say that there's a link between blood pressure and hypertension. So it can also, it's a bidirectional effect. It can affect BP. BP too can affect diabetes. So these are some of the signs, and both the early signs and the long-term signs of symptoms, of hypertension. When you come to the hospital, then we begin to look at other things that will make us to diagnose these conditions. Okay, we'll do some tests, we'll look at you, we'll evaluate you in the hospital, pick out some signs that you, the patient, may not notice, and then do the test that is necessary, and then eventually make a diagnosis of diabetes.
Okay, Mr. Ayila.
Yes.
Your co-discussant just pointed out some of the symptoms. As an association, what kind of normal symptoms and complications people experience living with the condition?
Then the commonest symptom is the weight loss. Most of my members have a weight loss issue. That doesn't mean that everybody has it, but majority. Then the complications, as they are saying, the blood vision is also very common, because like I was telling you of my own personal experience, I had an issue of eye problem 2 years before I was also diagnosed of having diabetes. So
the eye problem started with blood vision?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this, like this BP problem and stroke is also it's a distance that affect the people living with diabetes.
Okay, Dr. Onogwu, walk us through the complications that diabetes could lead to, and are there people who are more prone to coming down with diabetes in terms of categories of persons?
All right, thank you. Yes, when we are looking at the complications of diabetes, usually it can affect, theoretically it can affect every part of the body from head to toe. Every part of the body can be affected. And then the degree an individual is affected vary from person to person. And then one thing that is central to developing complications of diabetes is how well the disease is controlled, how well the blood glucose level. People that their sugar is not well controlled have a higher risk of developing a complication. Some people can have more than one, some people can have just one complication. Again, as we are growing older, there are other comorbidities that can happen. So that somebody has diabetes does not mean that the person cannot have another sickness. So if there are other sickness in the body, they may also worsen the complication that somebody is having. That is why we cannot sit down in one place and say this person can develop this complication, this person cannot develop this complication. Then in the terms of a category of people, if I get you well, is it category of people that will have
yes,
the complications of having diabetes?
Diabetes. There are categories that may be prone to having
yes.
Yes.
There are ethnic groups on a specific ethnic group that they have higher the prevalence of diabetes. Lucky for us, we are not one of those ethnic group like the Hispanic, the Pacific Islanders. Most of them are the white people, and even in the South, in the Middle East, their rate of diabetes is more than our own. But then one major factor about the prevalence of diabetes is urbanization. And then as the population is aging, like I say, the central problem is a problem with the insulin. And the insulin is secreted by the pancreas. It's just like any other cell of the body that as we are aging, the function of the cells of the body are declining. So because the population is aging more, as we are growing older, there is that small risk of developing diabetes because the function of the pancreas that secrete that insulin is also declining with age. But apart from that, the other genetic factor we talked about before, the family history. First degree relative, that is your father, your mother, your brother or sister. If any of them have diabetes, you have increased risk of having diabetes also. Then, like I say, people that eat unhealthy food, junk food, people that eat, even if it is healthy food you are eating. And in the past, people erroneously believe that it must be proteinous food. So I put it to you that even if you are eating only meat and you are eating too much of it, your body will still convert it back to glucose and you will still end up having diabetes if it is too much. So people that eat too much, people that eat refined product, people that don't do exercise at all, that sit in one place, people that are very big in size, are all the people that can have diabetes.
Our sensitization on World Diabetes Day. And here in the studio as panelists, we have a consultant endocrinologist at the Benue State University Teaching Hospital, Makurdi, Dr. Akor Onogwu, and a consultant dermatologist at the Federal Medical Center, Makurdi, Dr. Utane Adama, as well as the Benue State Chairman, Diabetes Association of Nigeria, Nathaniel Ayila. Later at 10 o'clock, you can participate by calling in on 0814-335-9292. 0814-335-9292. The SMS line, which is already available for you to contribute through text, and the line is also available on WhatsApp, is 0912-699-9404. 0912-699-9404. Please remember to include your full name and where you are sending your message from in terms of the address. Log on to our website on www.agateradio.tv.com to listen to us and access other content of Agate Radio on that website as well. You may download the Agate Radio and TV app from Google Play Store, which serves you to access the radio, the television, as well as newspaper, a one-stop app for all these platforms to avail you credible and latest information. You can find us on Radio Garden and on social media platforms. Dr. Adama,
Yes, please.
what lifestyle changes can individuals make to prevent or manage diabetes?
Okay, thank you very much. So the earlier speaker has already ran us through the risk factors. Okay, so some are modifiable, that is, there's something we can do about it, and some are non-modifiable, there's nothing we can do about it. Okay, like the age, we must all grow old. So with increasing age, there's increased risk for diabetes. There's nothing we can do. The race, there's nothing we can do about it. We're either blacks or Hispanics or all of that. Okay, now that the modifiable risk factors, there are things that you can do something about, like your weight. So weight loss or keep a good weight, that is very important in reducing the risk of developing diabetes. So if you can reduce your portions, or you can eat more vegetables in your meals. So vegetables, high fiber diet, reduce the content or the content of the carbohydrates and all of that. Okay, and then portion control is really very important. So what you're eating, how you're eating it, how frequent you eat, that is very important. Okay, so weight loss is good. Increase your physical activity. It is recommended that we should have at least 150 minutes of physical exercise per week. Okay, so it should be spread throughout the week, and then it shouldn't be, you don't have 2 days of, when you're not exercising, there shouldn't be more than 48 hours apart. So you can have 150 minutes of moderate exercise per week, or 75 minutes of vigorous exercise per week. But in no 2 days will you have no exercise at all. So it can be spread throughout the week. So increase your physical activity. Exercise should be a routine in your life. Okay. And then we talked about portion control. All this is about weight loss. Then poor sleep too. Poor sleep can also add to the risk for developing diabetes. So we should have proper sleep, at least 6 to 8 hours. You shouldn't be less than 6 hours. You shouldn't have less than 6 hours. Aim for at least 8 hours of sleep per day. Okay. So other things you can do, you can also control your blood pressure. As like I said, BP and diabetes, they are two how would I say now? There are two strings that pull themselves, one affects the other like that. So that is also very important. Okay, so these are some of the things. And then early, you should check. That's why we're here. Prevention is better than cure. If you're from a family that has diabetes, first degree relative or even relatives that have diabetes, it is good that you go for, just like we mentioned, sometimes you don't have the symptoms. So you may be living with it and you don't have the symptoms. So it is good to check once in a while. These are some of the things that we can do.
Okay, Mr. Ayila, how do individuals living with diabetes manage their condition on daily basis?
Thank you for that question. There is no hard and fast rule on how you manage yourself. But there are simple precautions one need to take. Just like the doctors rightly said, one of the ways to manage yourself is also you have a control over your lifestyle. Some people drink too much of alcohol. Some people take refined sugar. These minerals, Coke, Fanta, and the rest, too much.
That's the soft drinks.
Yes, they
in
take
general.
Some take it 2 bottles daily. And if you most of them, you see they're on the fat side already, which is already a risk factor. So you're only compounding the problem. Another one is if you're already living with diabetes, regular exercises is essential, and portion control, like Dr. Adama said, you don't need to eat too much food. Some people, where they skip and eat 3 meals at a time, which is also very risky. You can eat regular, but small portions. Then you avoid heavy food late hours, because the essence is when you are eating heavy food at late hours, like after 8 p.m., definitely you're not going to make use of the food at all. You just go to bed and sleep. So you are rather compounding your problem instead of helping yourself.
Okay, Dr. Onogwu, in terms of prevalence, how prevalent is diabetes, especially around us here in Benue, based on what you encounter in your facilities?
All right, thank you. The burden of diabetes is on the increase every now and then. As we speak, in the whole world, more than 500 million people are living with diabetes. Coming down to Africa, more than 24 million people are living with diabetes. In Nigeria, about 6 to 8 million people are living with diabetes. And then the bigger problem is that there are many people having this condition, but they are not even aware that they are having it. Or because we say it can be asymptomatic for several years. Now, in Benue State of a truth, there is no local study for now to quote accurate figure about the number of people living with diabetes. But we know the number is quite high. It's quite high. And it's also good to note that about 30 to 40,000 deaths are due to diabetes every year in this country. We should also know that diabetes is one of the leading cause of amputation in our environment. I can authoritatively tell you that in the Benue State University Teaching Hospital, majority of people that have amputation there is due to complication of diabetes. It's also good for us to know that the death that is due to diabetes is more than that one due to HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria put together. So diabetes and this complication kills more people than HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria put together.
That's really disturbing. Dr. Adama, let's talk about the economic implications of diabetes on individuals and healthcare systems. What support system is available for them in the healthcare facilities?
Okay, so this is really very interesting. I think I should say that it is not enough. Diabetic patients are suffering. There is no known, I do not know of any economic alleviating policies or anything like that support people with living with diabetes.
Yes.
I do not know if there is. I stand to be corrected anyway. So these patients are they are paying out of their pockets. They are paying out of their pockets to get very expensive drugs. The insulin is very expensive. The machines to test for their self-monitoring of blood glucose is very expensive. The strips are very expensive. Even the drugs to get for 1 month, a 1 month supply of the oral tablets, depending on the one they use, they are all very expensive. And these patients are paying out of their pockets. We're not even talking about the complications that may arise as a result of long-term diabetes that they have to pay for. So I know lots of programs exist for people living with HIV and all of that. I think that this is a call to look into people living with diabetes as well. I think they are suffering. That is what I have to say about this. I think we need more. We need policies that will help these people. I think there should be more programs for people living with diabetes. As far as I know, I think they're majorly paying out of their pockets, and it's really a huge burden on them. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Ayila. Now let's look at what is the economic burden of diabetes on individuals living with the condition. And like your co-panelists stated, if the support system is not there, how are you coping?
Thank you very much. I think this question has forced me to go back to the theme of this year's celebration.
Yes.
Which says diabetes and well-being, with slogans like breaking barriers and bridging the gaps of quality and affordable care. Of a truth, like Dr. Adama said, people living with diabetes have never been supported by any government whatsoever. They are footing the bills purely from their pockets. And the cost of living occasioned by this subsidy removal in Nigeria, for instance, has more than tripled the cost of drugs and other medications used by people living with diabetes. I'm consistently using that word, people living with diabetes, because we prefer to be referred to as people living with diabetes and being called diabetics.
Okay.
So we have been looking forward to avenues where the government the attention of the government at all levels will be drawn to assist people living with diabetes to manage their conditions better. Because diabetes itself is like, in a share, I will tell you that somebody with a diabetes is like when you open the door of a house. Anything can come in, both good and bad, and the condition can worsen. So, like when I was first diagnosed, I used less than 5,000 naira for my drugs per month. But with the increase in the general cost of living in Nigeria now, I spend between 28 to 30,000 naira monthly for my drugs. So we are really looking for partnerships, especially from government, public-spirited individuals, and non-governmental organizations to help people living with diabetes. I found myself working in the health sector at the Benue University Teaching Hospital, and we have been doing that. We even approached the management to see how they can help people living with diabetes. Because being the chairman and being working in that place, they say charity begins at home. And the Hwande-led administration has started very well. Apart from supporting us to celebrate this year's day, he has also promised to look into some of our demands, like to see how they can to cushion the effects of the cost of drugs. So we believe that from our angle as people living with diabetes, we believe that maybe the teaching hospital alone may not be able to do that. But with the collaborations of the State Assembly, especially the Committee on Health, the Standing Committee on Health, if they can pass legislations to enable people living with diabetes have free access to drugs, like people living with HIV, it will go a long way in alleviating the problems of people living with diabetes.
Okay, Dr. Akor, chipping a word on this, trying to formulate policies that will alleviate the plight they're going through.
All right. It's actually a difficult situation we are in now, occasioned by the general increase in the cost of living. Like the other have said before, procuring drugs for people living with diabetes is extremely high. For us, there is little an individual can do as a health professional. But then we do our best in terms of sensitization of the public, creating awareness from time to time, doing our best in the health facilities, seeing people that come to us. And then each time the opportunity like this comes, we avail ourselves to create the awareness and educate people about the condition and what they can do, how to reduce the burden. Again, an individual in the health sector will not be able to shoulder the burden of most of the palliative that people living with diabetes need. For example, people living with HIV, their drugs are free, and we all know that most of these drugs are from foreign donor agencies, not even local, most of them. Yes, there are some local agencies that are helping, but most of their drug is foreign funded. We are all appealing to government at the level of the government, and then the NGO, and then individuals that are aware to do. Even if it is subsiding the rate or the cost of insulin, the drug that people take. And then once in a while, in my own capacity, when I see the drug companies that advertise their drug, we talk to them as part of their corporate social responsibility. Those that can help us to get some drug at wholesale price instead of the people living with diabetes to go to to pay at the retailing prices. Like yesterday, we celebrated the World Diabetic Day in the teaching hospital. Some of the drug company some of them came around, and a company gave us 5 vials of insulin, which goes for one bottle goes around 15,000, which we gave to some of the people that came. Which that is one way that they help. We keep advocating at our own level. Those at least we can talk to drug company. We talk to some of them. Yes, in the past they help a lot, but now the general cost of living is affecting their business also. They are also complaining. But the little they can do, they keep doing. But we keep asking the government if they can help. That is the much we are doing for now.
Okay. Dr. Adama, the much that is being done seems not to be much for those living with a condition. So beyond you in the health sector, how can policymakers address the growing burden of diabetes? Because first, the burden will be reduced, right? Because if it is reduced, the challenge of having to cope with it will also be dealt with. So how can policymakers do that?
Okay, well, I'd say is to first call for, first of all, yes, the advocation. We need we need to make this knowledge, we need to make this knowledge known. We need to spread the word. Okay, we need to spread the word to those involved, or to those who are willing to do something to help the condition. Now, for the policymakers, I think that these things should be put, laws also, not laws now. I think that adequate policies or adequate intervention, should be made, so that these people living with this burden can be helped. I wouldn't know how to go about because just like health, like my other speaker said, we're health professionals, so we can only do within our means. Okay, so I think that the policymakers, I think they are the experts. I think it is something that they should bring to the table. I think ongoing discussion should start and go on. They should put this thing, it's important. It is something that is with us. It is something that affects people, affects a lot of us. Like he said, with 10 people, 8 out of 10 people could be diabetic. So we're not talking about ghosts here. We're talking about things that affect all of us. So I think that these people, it is time for them to come to a roundtable talk, put pen on paper, whatever it is that is required to make these policies, to implement them, to follow through with them, and to put this, just set the ball rolling. I think that the experts should gather and make these things work. It will help a lot of us. Yeah.
Good enough. So I think the experts, both in the health sector and across all levels, should join hands together to address the issues. Mr. Ayila, what are some common misconceptions people have about diabetes, especially that persons are living with the condition? Is there any stigmatization or misconception people have about it?
Before I go to that, you were asking about the policy-making issue.
Yes.
I wanted to contribute there a little bit.
Go ahead.
And especially in the area of making people living with diabetes access treatment easily. Like in Benue State, for instance, we have 3 senatorial districts. Both the Federal Medical Center and the teaching hospital are located here in the state capital, Makurdi. And if the clinics for people living with diabetes to benefit from, the endocrinology clinic is once a week in each of the centers. And people could come from Kasinala, Ogbadibo, Ado, from these far distances, all the way to Makurdi. So I was looking at there's a possibility of this maybe opening up branches of these hospitals, maybe one in Otukpa or Ado, for instance, to cater for people living at that far extreme. Then one in maybe Kasinala, Adipo, or Vandika, for instance, to cater for people at the extreme of the zone A. It will be better because the transportation alone, coming down, not to talk about the treatment, the cost of treating your managing it, and the rest is a huge distance. So I think in this area, policymakers can look at this, and also it will be beneficial to us.
Very well. That is well established. Now let's talk about the misconceptions or form of stigmatization persons living with diabetes experience.
Yes. When you talk about stigmatization, there is no well-known form of stigmatization for now, because I only hear people make exclamations like, this diabetes itself. For me to have sugar, it's better have HIV because you have free treatment. This one, the cost of treating alone will kill you. So it's normal, but there are some people, even though I'm a Christian, I'm a child of God. I believe in the existence of God and divine healing, because the doctors themselves only treat. It is God that actually heals. A lot of men of God has led a lot of people to their early grave because of telling them to stop taking medications for diabetes, that sickness is from the pit of hell. A lot of people are refusing to own up to this condition and come for proper management. That's why I see a lot of cases of this, complications. So until they are finally down before they can be brought to the centers to be managed. So these are some of the areas. Maybe because people will say you are living with diabetes. In fact, when you start looking slim these days, because they know that antiretroviral drugs are making people not to identify people living with HIV to be very slim. So when you are looking slim, they say this one is a diabetic person. And so these are some of the ways, the little stigmas people are being faced with when they live with diabetes. So some are refusing to come for treatment.
And possibly, like you mentioned, is the possibility of people resorting to unorthodox care. It's possible. Are your members being led into saying native medicine could cure the condition, and they are going for it in preference?
Exactly. They have been going. A lot of people have been going. I will tell you that I'm also guilty of this, because I tried it where they told me that this and that can cure diabetes permanently. I tried it and nearly landed myself in a bigger problem, because the sugar level shoot beyond the level I ever expected in my lifetime. So, but now that I'm meticulous with the normal care, my sugar level has been properly controlled.
All right, that is why we're here on this edition. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll start engaging with the listener. Kindly stay with us. Welcome back from that short break, dear listener. Thank you for staying with us on iGate Radio. You are listening to Perspectives, and our discussion is focused on World Diabetes Day. You can participate on the program by calling in on 0814-335-9292, 0814-335-9292. In the meantime, the SMS line is also available, and that line, which you can also reach us through, is 0912-699-9404, 0912-699-9404. Once you connect with us on the call line, which we called out earlier, we'd like to know your full name and where you're calling from. Then you make your submission. Kindly keep it very brief. Good morning and welcome.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Nathaniel.
Good morning. Welcome to Perspectives.
Yes, Iburu Tenenge calling from Bifut at the moment.
Good to have you join us, Iburu Tenenge.
Yes, I greet my chiefs in the house.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to make a little contribution.
Very well.
It's
Go ahead.
important that, in as much as we are Christians, I see people go to some crusade venues and some miracle centers where they said they heal them of their diabetes, and these people carry their drugs and throw it away. So sometimes the thing will be killing them inside before they will come to the hospital. It might be something that a very little thing will take care of you, but you leave it, it will generate to another problem that will bring much complication and sometimes death. And the people that patronize traditional healers, I have seen people where they say they treat diabetes. They say it in tea, mocam, diabetes, 2-2, that they give you one concussion, diabetes will finish. And people rely heavily on such concussions. So if we have any traditional healer, I think the best thing is for that person to bring his claims to the NAFDAC. Bring your ingredients. The scientists will look at it. If there are some chemicals that can cure the diabetes as you claim, then we'll factor it and we'll know that, okay, now we have a traditional medicine that can cure diabetes. So my appeal to the general public is, please be careful with the crusade venues you go. Don't throw your drugs, even if you get filled, but stick.
Okay.
And don't discard your drug.
Thank you, Great again.
Yes.
Thank you. In any case, we are not trivializing having to pray in a crusade. That is not the opinion. We should make it clear that we are not making crusades or prayer points to look trivial, but you should also combine it. That's what Igbiri is saying. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Nathaniel.
Thank you for joining us.
This is Magdalene from Yeke.
Welcome, Magdalene.
Thank you so much. I want to appreciate the guest in the house, my personal doctor, Dr. Adama. Well done, ma.
Thank you very much.
She actually knows her job. I want to join my voice with the discussant in the studio to plead with those involved. They should please look into this matter because people are really, really suffering. Diabetes is killing more than HIV now. People prefer to be diagnosed of HIV than diabetes because the drugs are extremely expensive. The economy is too harsh. What we used to buy for 5,000 is now 20-something thousand naira. And so if they could make it that in such a way that they will reduce the prices or at least they give out these drugs to patients living with diabetes, it will go a long way in helping us. The economy is even too harsh. So I just want to go to their people involved to look into the matter. Thank you very much.
Magdalene, thank you very much for calling in. We appreciate you. Mm-hmm. All right, government should look into the expensive nature of drugs for diabetes. Maybe provide a subsidy for them. That's what Magdalene
Good morning, the studio.
Good morning.
My name is William Alfred. I'm calling from Api, popularly known as Ido.
Ilum Alfred from Api. Thank you. Go ahead.
My question is, if you have diabetes, which kind of drink you'll be taking? Is it good to taking palm wine?
Okay, could that be all from you, Alfred?
Is it Mother Adama? You found a day, call my number, call me, or you should text me. I never take more than 3 months now. Thank you. That is just only my question. Our women, then they cook late, will they eat and sleep? I don't know whether if they give you visa, it's part of exercise.
If they give you what?
Nice. I don't know.
If they
visa.
give visa?
Visa.
Is visa a drink or what?
You say when you eat and drink heavy food, if you enter and sleep, you know waka, you not do any exercise. It's not good. That's why I say too. There's no, if they cook you in the night, no way to go anywhere. So if you sleep and the woman give you visa, you enter a country, is it?
Okay. Iluma Fred, thank you. Okay, Iluma Fred, we are trying to make sense of your visa. Quite funny of you. All right. 0814-335-9292. We'll talk about your palm wine. The other visa, we are not here. We are not embassy, so we don't give visa. So we don't know about that. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Nathaniel.
Good morning. Welcome to Perspectives.
I'm Eda Haisin from Chile, Gumaloka Gomita of Benue State.
Good to have you join us, Eda Haisin Tahembe.
In medicine, prevention is better than cure. Hence, then I will focus on the preventive measures about diabetes. It is better that from the explanation from the guests there, they were saying that any class of food you eat, it ends up with sugar, glucose. So I will advise the primary head so that they will actually go house to house and then plan menu that will not actually have excess sugar in the insulin. Apart from that, we also advise people living with diabetes. Actually, they follow the routine of checking in their health center, health facilities, so that maybe they know the status of their diabetes illness. And then we end up a question. You did say it was said that you say that maybe this diabetes is based on family relations. I don't know whether the mode of transmission of this diabetes it is through the genes or through communication, or what means that it actually is on family base.
Okay. Hyson, thank you. We'll respond to your question. Thank you for your contribution. Okay, Hyson says primary healthcare should plan menu. We wonder how possible that is. In any case, you have listened to the panelists. Morning. Welcome to Perspectives.
Yeah, this is Teso Bam. I'm calling from Naba here in Makurdi.
Teso Bambua?
Yes.
Okay.
Calling from Naba.
Thank you, Teso. Your radio is close to you, which is why we are not able to get you clearly. So kindly move away from it or turn down its volume.
Okay, I've done just that.
Thank you, Teso. Go ahead, please, and make your submission.
Yes, please, my regards to you. They are the anchor of the program.
Thank you.
And the team of experts over there in the radio station.
Thank you.
Yes, mine is a question. Yes, I have. Man, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you are on, so go ahead.
Yes, my question is to the expert team of experts over there. What is it done to create awareness for people living in this particular ailment, especially people living in the remote areas, as the villagers, people that are doing the village? What is done for them to know about this particular ailment, talking about diabetes? That's awareness program should be created for them to be aware of this particular ailment, because most of them living with this ailment in the rural area, they don't even know that they are living with this particular ailment. So awareness program should be created for them to be aware of this particular ailment. Thank you so much. That's my submission.
Thank you. I think yours is a submission, not a question, and that is why even on Agate Radio, what we are doing is part of that. It's our corporate social responsibility, which we have brought the expert to create the awareness about it. It's an ongoing discussion, as you say. Good morning. Welcome to Perspectives.
My name is Abu Onogwu.
Yes, Abu Onogwu. Where are you reaching us from?
From Logo to Makurdi.
Very well. Go ahead.
I want to appreciate all your guests in the studio. Mine is a question. I want to ask my guests in the studio. Please, why is it that, if we take statistics, diabetes, compared to the in urban...
Abu Onogwu, I think it is not in your place to say so, because I don't think you are involved working with them as a health expert, so that would be too general for you to conclude, right?
It's okay.
Very well, but go ahead and make your point without a sweeping generalization.
So I want to add that you corrected me. So
go ahead. Make your submission. I just needed to make that clear so that we put proper information in public domain.
Yes. The people living in rural areas, this diabetes, they don't have much as people living in urban settlements. Is it because we living in urban areas, we claim that we eat healthy, we eat good food, and those living in rural areas, most of people they eat all those spinach, all those local food. Those food, this healthy food, is the cause of diabetes or how? I don't understand. Because I take statistics in my area, in my local government. People living there, some are clocking 80, 85. They are still working. They are still going to farm. We don't have issue of diabetes. So I'm confused.
Okay. Thank you, Abu.
Thank you.
Well, in any case, we'll still question the validity of your statistics. We'll respond to that. Let's just note it down. The validity of your statistics is what? Because you said authoritative that you took statistics. I'm wondering how you arrive at that. Good morning.
It's Mr. Joseph Odbeke from Kutko Quarters, High Level Makurdi.
Good to have you join us, Joseph Odmoke. Go ahead and make your points.
I want to lend my voice to the earlier submission made concerning the cost of drugs for diabetes in Nigeria. I particularly want to appeal to the federal government to subsidize the cost of drugs so that those involved will be helped at that level. That's what I want to contribute.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Joseph, thank you. Thank you very much. The federal government should subsidize drugs for diabetes. I think the government have a lot of subsidies to implement in this country. When they are removing some, they should be introducing new ones. If you remove on petrol, introduce on drugs. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you for joining us on Perspectives.
Hi. My name is Elizabeth. Hi. From Makurdi.
I'm sorry, your network is breaking. We can barely hear you.
My network is breaking.
Yes.
But are you hearing me well now?
Speak on. Let's know.
Hello.
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 Good morning.
So my name is Livewell. I talk from Makurdi.
Okay, which part of Makurdi?
High Level.
All right.
What I want to say is not high sugar intake. Because they say that every food we eat is almost converted into glucose. Now, what can you explain to me?
Maybe you should change your position. Your network is really breaking. We can barely hear you.
I'm hearing you. Are you not hearing me?
It's not about you hearing me. It's about us hearing you in the studio. I am telling you your network
now,
at your
end. Is it better? I've changed my position.
Speak on, please. Just go ahead and speak.
So, as a man, full grown man, if they say it is caused by you, how do you and the talk of lifestyle? There are people in the society where after they have eaten, they must take at least a bottle of beer or two.
I'm really sorry we may have to disconnect with you because communication is really not taking place between us because we can hear that you are speaking, but the words are not coming through. So the line is still available. If you are able to call back, that will be fine. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, this is Kwaza Vincent calling from Northern Makurdi.
Good to have you join us, Kwaza Vincent.
Yes, I greet the doctors in the studio.
Thank you.
I want to ask the questions. Most of the times when you go to when you are taking this pap, gari and maybe tea, somebody will say that don't put sugar, don't put too much sugar on it. Does it mean that is this too much eating of this sugar we buy in the market that causes this diabetes? And secondly, this diabetes, does it have an age limit where somebody will attempt to have this diabetes? Because most of the times you hear people of age from maybe 50, 60 having this diabetes. And you see these teenagers, you hardly hear them having this diabetes. So does it have an age limit when you reach? Then these symptoms begin to manifest in you.
All right, Kwaza Vincent, we'll respond to your question. Thank you. Does it have age limit? These are some of the questions we are being confronted with. We are noting them. When we come back, we'll take care of them. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Kindly move away from your radio. Turn down its volume, sir.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Very well, sir.
Okay. My name is Okeke Alfonso from Nima.
Okay, good to have you join us.
Good morning, all of you there.
Morning, sir. Thank you.
My own question. I went to check my BP yesterday. It is 111/70. And my weight is 56, my weight. And my age, I'm above 70. I am asking this question. Is it normal? Please. This 117, is it low or high? I don't know. And this thing.
Okay, sir. But apart from providing answer to your question, where you checked, was it in a health facility, and what did the health expert there told you, sir?
They told me that it's normal. But some people say that it's low.
Okay.
You see? Some people, so that's why I asked this question from doctors. They let me know the exactly my BP.
Oh, okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll get the doctors to respond to you. Thank you.
And my weight.
Okay, sir.
56. Is it good? I'm above 70.
Weight 56, 56, right?
Yeah, 56, my weight.
Okay, sir. All right.
And I'm above 70 years. Let me know.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for calling in. Thank you. We appreciate you. Anyway, the doctors will respond to that. We want to live above 72, so we're certainly going to respond to that, to tap into the blessings of living above 70. Is that our consensus?
Yes.
All right. Good morning.
A very wonderful good morning to you, Mr. Nat.
Thank you for joining us.
Comrade Michael Teyima, all the way from Bakiri, Boku local government area of Benue State.
Teyima, go ahead and make your points.
I am agree with the analyst in the studio that diabetes is a condition in which the body does not produce a sufficient quantity of a hormone known as insulin. So a condition is not curative. So in that case, I am appealing with the federal government to incorporate with the World Health Organization and other necessary agencies. If necessary, let them provide a vaccine. And not only for the diabetes, but every condition that is not curative, to prevent them as early as childhood. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay. Michael, thank you. Deyima, thank you. We're wondering if diabetes is cured through vaccine, but that's your point. We need to explain it for you to understand properly. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
So this is Mebe Yoza calling from Atisa.
Did you say Mebe Yoza?
Yes.
Okay, Mebe, you speak on a little louder so we hear you.
Okay, I have two questions to ask. In some cases, I've met two kids having diabetes.
You have met
two children
under
the age of 10 having diabetes. What's the cause of diabetes in children? And in a family where diabetes is genetic, what can one do to prevent you from getting diabetes, since it's genetic in the family?
All right. Could that be all from you, Mebe?
Yes.
Mebe, thank you. We'll respond to your questions.
Okay.
All right. Okay, this is really engaging when it is a health sensitization and people are interested, asking questions, they really care about their health. Good morning. Hello. Oh, unfortunately, we lost connection with that caller, but the line is still available. We'll take a few more calls before we come back. 0814-335-9292. The SMS line is also available. 0912-699-9404. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for joining us on Perspectives.
I am Himpe Magdalene calling from SSCG.
Himpe Magdalene?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead, Magdalene.
Mine is just a question. My mom is living with diabetes, and there is something that has developed on her leg, and they are saying is it Buruna cancer or something. This thing they call in Steve Ambi, and the thing started this week. And then I'm trying to convince her to go to the hospital, and people are there discouraging her that they don't used to treat that in the hospital. She has been going to teaching hospital for her treatment. They even operated on her eyes last month. As we have been following up the checkup and the other things. So I want to know if it is not too necessary for her to go there, do the treatment, the native treatment that they are telling her, or I should discourage her so that we'll go to the hospital.
Okay. Magdalene, could that be all from you?
Something like that.
Doctors will respond to that. Thank you.
No,
And
thank
we
you, sir.
wish your mom speedy recovery, Magdalene.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay, I think let's take a break here from the course and respond to some of these questions. And we'll start from bottom to top, not the bottom to top of Nigerians anyway. Dr. Onogwu,
Yes.
You listen to Magdalene. Let's start with her concern, then we'll go back to the others raised earlier.
Yes. Like we earlier said, on diabetes can cause virtually any type of complication and can affect any part of the body. And what she say underscore what people say is a lot of things. And the painful thing is that when they go for this traditional people, I'm not saying that traditional medicine doesn't work. That is not what I'm saying. But most of these things are not quantified. There are no scientific basis. We don't really know what we are taking, the limit to which we can take. But the dangerous thing about it is that when they go there, most of them will instruct them to stop whatever the orthodox drug they are taking before. And that is a very dangerous something. So that most of them, when they are there for months, finish spending all their money, and the time they are coming back to the hospital, it becomes a battle between life and death. We are not even thinking about salvaging the leg that time again. And I have not seen us referring somebody from the hospital that we cannot, there's nothing we can do about this and go to a traditional setting. Worst case scenario, if it is beyond what we can do in our facility at a point in time, we can refer you to another place. But if there is something growing in the leg, it could be an ulcer. And the beauty of it, thank God we have a dermatologist here. The people that are involved in managing those type of wound in the leg, if it's actually a wound, the endocrinologist involved in trying to control the blood sugar, depending on the type of lesion on the leg, the dermatologist can be involved, the plastic surgeon, and then orthopedic surgeon if the bone are involved. So my simple answer to her is to take her back to the hospital.
Okay.
So that there will be a proper assessment by the doctor, and then the doctor will tell her what the right thing to do.
Very well, Magdalene. So I believe you are listening. But Dr. Adama, you like to chip in a word on that briefly, and then also respond to the concern by Meda Ilza. If diabetic is genetic, what can those with a family history do to prevent, and why do children as age as little as 10 come down with diabetes?
Okay, thank you. First, let me talk about the lady with the mother who has a wound there.
Yes.
So just like Dr. Onogwu pointed out, you should come to the hospital. First and foremost, I want to reiterate that the fact you have diabetes doesn't mean that you can have other illnesses. So you can have other infectious illnesses on that leg too. There are a lot of wounds, there are a lot of neglected tropical diseases, a lot of ulcers that can affect people living with diabetes. They are already prone to having skin infections. So they can have chronic ulcers, they can have boils, recurrent boils. They can have wounds on their legs. So please come to the hospital, bring her to the hospital, ask to see the dermatologist. We will look at you, we will evaluate you, and we will treat you. You haven't come, we haven't told you, or have we told you that you should please go, that we don't treat? Please, that is a wrong information. Please come to the hospital, let us see you and evaluate properly and treat accordingly. All right. So, responding to the woman who...
yes, Mabel talked about, you mentioned genetic factor for diabetes.
Yes.
If it is genetic, those with the family history, what can they do to prevent?
Okay.
And she also was worried why children come. Yeah.
Okay. So, straight to the point. We said diabetes is both genetic and environmental influence. So you have the genetic, that's the first hit. Then the second hit you have from environmental, from environment. So your lifestyle, what you do, how you eat, smoking, drinking, and all of that will contribute. Then for those who have genetic predisposition, you already know that there's a first degree relative with diabetes. So what do you do? You have to take this seriously. Please let your BMI not be overweight.
That's the body mass index.
Sorry, yes. You have to look at your body mass index. You have to try to maintain good weight. Don't be overweight. Look at your food, your diet, portion control. What are you eating? There are foods that have high glycemic index, foods that immediately you eat, the sugar just goes up, the insulin is coming in to try to do the work. You don't want to keep stimulating your cells. You don't want to keep stimulating the cells with food with high glycemic index. So please, refined sugar, we don't want you to do, everything should be in moderation. So the foods you eat, very important. We've talked about this, but I hope you're listening again. So that is right. If you're smoking, please quit smoking. Don't even try if you haven't started, because we know the addictive nature. And if you're smoking, that can also contribute. It harms the vessels, and that can also increase your risk of having diabetes. So you already have a first risk. These are other risk factors that you should try to avoid. So drinking excessively, smoking, increase your physical activity, increase exercise. Now, I'm talking about physical activity. Maybe, physical activity, there are various types of physical activity. If I'm walking, if I'm gesticulating like this, is a physical activity. I'm talking is also a physical activity. But that is not what we really want if we tell you to exercise. Exercise is actually a planned physical activity that has a time, its routine is planned. So this is what we want you to do. In addition to what you're doing, in addition to the normal things we do, we want you to include that in your routine, your daily routine. Okay, now you said, why do children have diabetes? Okay. Our first speaker said that there are different types of diabetes, right? Okay, we have the type 1 and type 2. These can occur in anybody. Type 1 diabetes can occur in children or in adults. Type 2 diabetes, which is the most common one, can occur even in children. So the fact that it's type 2 diabetes and is more in adults, and the age increases with and the risk increases with age, does not mean that type 2 diabetes cannot happen with children. Now, but most times we have the type 1 diabetes, which can affect children. Why? Because type 1 diabetes doesn't really have to do with what you eat or anything like that. It has to do with an abnormality in the organ that produces the insulin that is used to take care of the glucose in the blood. So you have, and he said it's autoimmune. It's caused by an autoimmune condition. Autoimmune means that your cells are fighting against itself. So for some strange reason, it can be autoimmune. Like, we don't know why these things happen, because there are theories anyway that explain. There are some theories that have been laid down why some body cells now fight against itself. There are a lot of autoimmune diseases. Okay, so type 1 diabetes is just one of it. So type 1 diabetes, this autoimmune, they are antibodies. They are like soldiers. These soldiers in your body, which we call antibodies, they're supposed to fight foreign bodies. They're supposed to fight things, infections and all of that. But for some strange reason, they turn and fight against the body. So when that fight is against the beta cells, that's the cells that produce the insulin in the body, then we now have type 1 diabetes. And type 1 diabetes can affect anybody. It can affect children. It can affect adults. So these are the people, they don't have, there's lack of insulin. So these people, they need insulin for survival.
All right.
Okay. So just a little addition to that question on what people that have the risk factor can do.
Yes.
In addition to what my colleague Dr. Adam has said, regular early screening is extremely important. Because for us, at any point in time, we come in contact with somebody with diabetes, there's something we can do for them. So once you know that there is a family history of diabetes, you should always screen yourself early. Yeah, 40 years and above, you screen at least two times in a year. You should check your blood glucose. The reason for this is this: there is an entity or the stage we call a pre-diabetes. That stage, the sugar is more than a normal level, but it has not reached the stage of saying that you have diabetes. So at that point, if you institute a lifestyle modification like we have talked about previously, some of them can be reversed back to normal, and then some of them you can even it may not stop you from having it eventually, but it can delay or postpone the evil day. Maybe instead of you having diabetes today, it can be delayed to the next 5 or 10 years. So the early screening is very, very important. And like she said, type 1, I earlier said that even the peak age of incidence is around 5 to 6 years. So at that age, people can have diabetes. Then at 13 to 14 years, people can have. Then we should also know that there is high increase of the high prevalence of childhood obesity. You see children that are very big. It's not a sign of my parents are doing well. It's actually it's something that we should be concerned about. We should not allow our children to overeat because we have plenty food that they can eat.
Alphonsus Okeke mentioned his BP as well as weight.
Okay, yes.
You listen to him.
Yes, I listen to him.
Yes.
The BP of 117 over 70 or something, he said is a very good BP for him. Usually, if a BP is not less than 90 over 60, we are not worried about it. It's only when it is getting below the 90 over 60 that we say it is low. So that value he quoted is a very normal blood pressure.
And his weight
then the weight. Yes, when we talk about weight, we also have to take the height into the consideration, which is the weight and the height we use to judge what the body mass index is for an individual. It then means that if somebody is very tall and is having a particular weight, and then somebody that is short, is not that tall, is having the same weight, let's say the 80 kg, it will have a different effect for them. Why one of them may have a BMI of around 25, the other may have a BMI of 29, depending on the height of the person. But I think, if anything, that weight is not likely to be too high. If anything, it will be a low this thing. But again, 56, I don't know his height, but again, it might not be a bad weight.
All right, especially that he says above 70. So at that age, you shouldn't keep a big weight. That's okay. Kwaza Vincent, your age limit question is actually tied together with the MEBEL concern. Anybody, based on what the doctors have explained, the age limit of those who can come down with diabetes, so I think yours is taken care of. But let's talk briefly about the concern by Abu Aundove, who claimed that he's on statistics. I wonder where he got his statistics, that those in the rural people do not come down with diabetes. Many of them. To what extent is that true?
Yes, he's partially true. I quite agree with him. Okay. But it's just that scientifically, when we are talking, we have to have the fact with us before we authoritatively say something. Yes. But then when you are looking at the risk factor for developing type 2 diabetes in particular, we say the urbanization and the adopting a Western lifestyle is actually a risk factor for developing diabetes. So I think it's right that the prevalence of diabetes is more in the urban center than in the rural area. And the reason is obvious, like he was alluding to it. Because in the Western, people that live in cities, in bigger cities, are more the tendency of taking fearless, buying juice from the supermarket, taking semovita is more than the people in the village. Again, the people in the towns tend to work in the offices more than people in the villages. So people in the village, most of them go to farm. Those are tired that are panwai tapa. If somebody is tapping the panwai 3 times in a day, you know the amount of energy the person is burning. And then again, the people in the villages, they eat better their food, healthier their food. They eat natural their food than people in the western, in the urban center that eat more of processed food. The higher the processed food you are eating, the higher your chances of becoming obese. And the more you are obese, the more you have a risk of insulin resistance and then the risk of developing diabetes. So it is tied to the lifestyle.
All right. So basically, the people in the villages or in the rural communities may even consume more of carbohydrate, but they have the tendency of burning it through sweat, exercises, physical activities they're involved in. Maybe
the truth is this: when we talk about carbohydrate, it was in the past that people discourage people from taking carbohydrate. The emphasis now is refined carbohydrate, not just carbohydrate. Most of the carbohydrates in the villages are complex sugar, complex carbohydrate. If you take complex carbohydrate, it involves several processes, chemical processes in the body before it will give you sugar. Unlike the refined one that have a high glycemic index. Those ones, if you take it immediately, your blood sugar shoot up. So people in the rural area, we encourage people to take natural food. All the natural food in our environment, you take it. It's just that we should avoid the refined product. And then again, to correct one information we gave earlier on, it's not as if the body cannot use other protein and fatty the food, the classes of food. Yes, the body can use it. And then there are some part of our body that are actually the protein. And there are some that is the fatty food that the body used to build some of the body they say. But what we are saying is that even if you choose to eat only protein, that I'm running away from carbohydrates so I will not have diabetes. If the body does not seal a carbohydrate in your body, the body will start converting your protein and your fat into the glucose, into sugar.
All right. Ms. Ayila, you listened earlier to one of our callers, Alfred Ilium, who was talking about having to access a visa. And the context of the visa he was using, I wonder what he meant, but he talked about palm wine. Is palm wine a drink that those living with a condition of diabetes can cope with as a drink? Maybe just for information's sake.
Well, I mean, I can't tell him that there's nothing that is more comfortable for any human being than water.
Okay.
Water is just life.
Okay, a little addition to that with regard to palm wine. Palm wine is an alcohol. So whether it is palm wine, is beer or brukuti, any wine, it is still the alcohol. Alcohol is alcohol. The thing, in reality, alcohol is not forbidden. It's just a little quantity. But the problem is this: how little is little? That is the problem. How do you define that little quantity of alcohol? The truth is this: if you tell an individual, say, take a little alcohol, the next thing to the person, 2 bottles every day can be a little alcohol to that person.
All right.
So it's actually difficult, but it's not as if it is 100% forbidden.
All right.
But if somebody can be disciplined to take a little quantity at a time, it's not too much of a problem.
All right. Thank you for holding on. Welcome to Perspectives.
Yes, thank you, the anchorman.
Thank you.
And the guest in the studios.
Welcome.
I am Evangelist John Ouru, calling from Makurdi.
Okay, which part of Makurdi, John Ouru?
Lobby Quarter.
Good to have you, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, I want to appreciate you for this topic that you have brought.
Thank you, sir.
I want to also inform us that I had seen a family that spoiled the children with these eateries, this fast food, and 3 of the children are having diabetes. Very young children, small children, they're having diabetes as a result of this eating of this sweetery foods from the fast food joints. Apart from this hereditary that they are talking about, I want to also advocate that the government should try and include this diabetes issue in NHIS for the civil servants. If they do so, that is going to help very well in reducing the cost of treatment for those people who are already victim of this challenge. And we should be selective in our meal. That is just what I want to add to the topic this very morning. God bless you all.
Thank you, sir. God bless you too. Thank you. All right. Is NHIS diabetes not captured in NHIS access services by the civil servants, Dr. Adama?
No, as far as I know, it is not. Most of the drugs are not under NHIS.
Oh, wow. It's okay. So
yes,
just a moment. Okay, go ahead. I've lost connection with that call already.
Yes,
So,
some of the drugs are covered actually. Some insulin. Sometimes the people under NHS can access insulin from this thing. But the major problem is that when we treat, we individualize the treatment. Some person will need a particular something, some drugs. Some other people will need another set of a drug. It's not all of the drugs that are covered. And then the insulin that are covered, sometimes it's not all the type of insulin that are covered. Again, even the type that are covered, they may go sometime and they will not see.
All
That
right.
is just a simple truth.
Okay, so let's ensure a comprehensive coverage for them. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Welcome to Perspectives.
Okay, thank you. My name is Tengwayo. I'm coming from Kwasha local government.
Okay, Tengwayo, which part of Konshisha are you reaching us from?
I watch it down.
Okay. Speak a little louder so we hear you better.
Okay, I got your speech about diabetes, but I got a confusion. Like, is the special food that we eat can produce diabetes, or there are some food, that's some selected food that can cause diabetes? And again, is he a cure disease?
Okay,
That's my question.
thank you. Tengwa, are you just tuning in?
Yes, for a few
Okay.
minutes now.
If you are just joining us, we have gone past some of the things you are asking, but we'll refresh briefly, and of course to help you understand whether the disease is curable or not. Thank you for calling in, Teungwa. All right. Okay, Teungwa wants to know whether diabetes is curable. Dr. Adama.
Okay, well, for now, for our settings, no, we do not have a cure now for diabetes in Nigeria and, worldwide. Even though there's some surgeries in, well, I don't have the real, I don't have clear data right now, but I know that some surgeries have been done in, I don't know, I really cannot remember the details right now.
Yes.
Where I think a total pancreatectomy and an organ transplant was done, where the patient no longer needed insulin or no longer needed anti-diabetic drugs for the control of diabetes. But this is just one study or just one chance or an anecdotal thing. It is not something that has been put, to... it hasn't been put out yet. So for now, diabetes does not have a cure.
But it can be managed.
Yes, it can be managed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the condition can be managed. Teungwa and any other person, diabetes can only be managed. If the line is still available, 0814-335-9292. The SMS line is also available. Kindly send us an SMS there. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning, the guest in the studio.
Thank you for joining us.
I'm Ikyo Sarah, coming from Uruku.
The name is who?
Ikyo Sarah.
Ikyo Sarah. Go ahead.
Mine is a question. I just want to know what are the best fruits for a diabetic patient?
Okay, could that be all from you, Sarah?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Dr. Onogwu.
Yes.
Respond to Sarah.
Yes, most of the fruits that are not sweet are good for people living with diabetes. Cucumber, garden egg, carrot, pears, avocado, they are all good. Orange once in a while you are taking it, you eat the inside with it. Then watermelon once in a while, even though it is sweet, but it has a lot of water. So the glycemic load is not much. But we should avoid things like pineapple, pawpaw, the ripe one, ripe banana. They are not good. Okay. Then earlier on about the cure, there's no permanent cure for diabetes.
This last categories of food you mentioned, they are not good for.
They are not good
for persons living with diabetes, right?
Yes.
Or for all of us in general, because some of us may be guilty of like in certain categories of fruits that when you say they are not good.
Yes, the truth is this: is just because of the high sugar content, and then the fact that it will shoot your sugar up quickly. Yes, it is not for everybody. It will not be much of a problem for you, but for somebody that is already living with diabetes, becomes a problem, because if they take, their sugar will quickly go up, which is what we don't want.
All right. So Sarah and every other listener, I think that information should have. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you. You are our last caller, and we give you just 1 minute to make your submission.
Okay, good morning, the girls in the studio.
Thank you.
Doctors, you have spoke well.
May we know your name and where you're calling from?
Yes, yes. I am Ikuta Peter from North Bank.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a diabetic patient already. But my problem now is that is my children. Is a diabetic. This question goes to because of my children. This saying that if your family have a diabetes, your children have a risk of having diabetes. Is it not what I heard from the doctor?
That is correct.
Okay. If it is so, is it continuous exercise? Is it continuous with the families? Like now, my father have diabetes. I myself can't have diabetes. And my children, are there risk of having it continuously?
Okay, Peter, could that be all from you?
Yes, that is what I want to know.
Thank you. The doctors will respond to that. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. That will be the last call. We'll take Dr. Onogwu. Take it up from there.
Yes. The risk is there. But the good news is that if they change their lifestyle and they are very serious about it, if they watch what they eat, if they exercise more regularly, the risk will be reduced. We are not saying that it can be 100% eliminated, but the risk can be reduced. Again, regular screening, like we said before, is extremely important in them also. Because if the father or mother has already, and you know that you have the chance of having, like I said, there's a stage we call pre-diabetes. So if we pick it at that point, and the person, and we intervene, there are people that we can even give some drug at the stage of a pre-diabetes to prevent them or delay them from having a type 2 diabetes. So if the person do all this, the person is intentional about the exercise and food, losing a weight, up to 5% of the weight that the person has, the risk will be reduced. And even if it is not completely reduced and the person happen to come down with the diabetes, if we pick it early and we start treatment early, and the person has a good glycemic control, then the chances of having bad complications will be greatly reduced.
All right, Mr. Ayila, let me have your thoughts on that. You listen to Ikuta Peter, and as one living with the condition, help us understand the extent to which people living with it can manage the situation relating to their children.
Well, just like the doctor said, the most important thing is the Bible, like the people quote Isaiah, that my people perish because of lack of knowledge. Once you have knowledge, you are not supposed to perish again. Especially some of us that are already down with diabetes, we need to let our family members know that they are the higher risk of having diabetes. So there are so many things: the food they eat, exercise, and the rest. Like I am talking, my mother was down with diabetes, and out of 7 of us, out of 9 of us are siblings, only 2 of us got diabetes, became diabetic after her. So others didn't. It doesn't mean that if you are diabetic, all your children must go down with diabetes. But they should know on time so that they control themselves. If I had controlled my lifestyle then, I wouldn't have gone down. But I didn't have this knowledge that people are having now, because I was drinking alcohol on the excess, up to 8-10 bottles a day without looking back, until I found myself having the disease. So if they can control their lifestyle, especially, and indulge in regular exercises, they may not go down with diabetes.
Okay, and Dr. Adama, by way of concluding, in terms of advancement in medical research and proper management of diabetes, what are the best practice at the moment?
Okay, at the moment, we have both the oral diabetic drugs, and then we have the insulin, which people can get. Okay, so it depends on the stage of your disease. It depends on the stage. Now, talking about new advances,
yes,
people, I think, talk has begun on artificial pancreas, if I'm not mistaken. So this is in the civilized world. Talking about artificial pancreas, talking about insulin pumps, which can be inserted and then be given at doses intermittently to the patients. These things are not here with us now. So at the moment, we're just treating with the different classes of the oral anti-diabetic drugs. There are different classes. They all do different things, but the main aim is to reduce the level of sugar or glucose in the blood. And then insulin, if we don't achieve good results with the oral anti-diabetic agents. So as we stand, this is where we are right now in our country.
Dr. Onogwu, give us your concluding thoughts on best practices in managing diabetes and how people living with the condition can cope.
Okay, like Dr. Adama rightly said, there are several advances in the management of diabetes. There are several types of tablets that can be used, several types of insulin, ranging from the one that we can give 3 times in a day, 2 times in a day, once in a day, and then there are insulin in preparation now that can even be used only once in a week. They are all in the pipeline, and then there are insulin that are attached to the body. We call it insulin pump. Some people actually eat whatever they want to eat, but they are willing to inject more doses of insulin depending on the content of sugar they are eating in their diet. Again, like she said before, and then like I say earlier on, that there are other causes of other classes of diabetes. There are some diabetes that is due to other hormonal problem. If you take care of such a disease, the diabetes will go. If somebody have Cushing syndrome and it's causing diabetes, if you treat it, the diabetes can actually go. Then the people that are obese, morbidly obese, I have seen about 2 cases. They did the operation for them, and what they did, the person is not eating much again. Then the person, the requirement for taking insulin, I think the 2 cases I saw, they stopped taking the anti-diabetic drug after those surgery. But these are outliners; they are not too plenty. Then again, the transplant that she talked about, yes, pancreas, they said that secreted insulin can be transplanted. Again, it is not too common, but it is in the making, because you ask yourself, what is the source of this pancreas that you are going to give to somebody? And then the problem that comes with transplant, because it will cause another problem on this home. Then, of course, artificial the pancreas is also in the pipeline. But the truth is that as we speak, for now, in our country, there is no permanent cure for diabetes. That is the partner word. There's no permanent cure for now, but it is not a dead sentence. It is preventable. It is treatable. If we do the right thing, the person and the sugar is well controlled, the person can live a normal life.
All right. Mr. Ayila, I'll conclude with a text message. What is the name of diabetes in Tiv Ukeyima Zoho from Agan? You are a chief man. Respond to that pointedly. And give a word, a parting word in 30 seconds.
Diabetes, got sugar.
Okay, Zoho. So if you are wondering what diabetes is, so your parting words in 30 seconds, especially with those to those living with the condition.
My parting words is to encourage those living with diabetes to adhere to their treatment models and should not believe that any witch or witchcraft anywhere can inflict diabetes on anybody.
All right. That will be where we'll draw curtains on today's edition of Perspectives. Dr. Akor Onogwu is a consultant endocrinologist at the Benue State University Teaching Hospital, and Dr. Utane Adama is a consultant dermatologist at the Federal Medical Center, Makurdi. Nathaniel Ayila is the Benue State Chairman, Diabetes Association of Nigeria. Thank you very much, my panelists, for coming on this edition of Perspectives and the valuable insights you shared.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dear listener, we appreciate your listenership. Join us next week, Monday, for a fresh edition of Perspectives. Nathaniel Nongu is my name. As we conclude, the doctors have said diabetes is preventable. So watch your lifestyle and stay safe. I Get Radio care about your health. Goodbye. I'll see you next week.